Today's daf is daf lamed daled. We're up to the two dots. So we're discussing the Mishnah, a number of distinctions between dinei mamonos and dinei nefashos. So the next difference is by dinei nefashos. By dinei mamonos, it doesn't matter how you started out, what approach you had, you can always change it in the middle of the discussion, middle of the conversation. By dinei nefashos, if you started out thinking the person is guilty, you can always change in the middle. But if you start out thinking that the person is innocent, you cannot change to chayv. That's what the Gemara said. Says the Gemara, two dots. We are about 10 lines from the top of the page. So it says in the Mishnah, dinei nefashos hamalamed. If you're learning, for example, chayva, you cannot later on decide to make it chus. Oh, Sheikh, okay, so the Mishnah said that dinei nefashos, if you started out as chus, you cannot turn to chayv. Says the Gemara, about 10 lines on top of the page. Amarav. Rav said by the two dots. That's only talking about during the actual debates of the Shas Gemar Din, but when it comes to the final conclusion, then what happens? What happens if after all the debate and everything else, you initially thought that the guy was innocent, but you realize the guy is guilty? So you're going to paskin against what you think. So it comes to psak, you can say chayv. Well, the Mishnah is talking about during the debate. If we force you during the debate to maintain that position that he's innocent, maybe you'll come up with new ideas how to find this person innocent. So what that's Meisel asked a question on Rav. It says later, the following day, mashkimin, they wake up a boyin and they come back and they reconvene. Remember, we live by dinei nefashos. You cannot rule on the very same day. You have to have halonas. Then you have to leave it overnight, and maybe you'll have a fresh new perspective. So what happened the following morning? What happens? He started out the day. The one who yesterday was saying he's innocent continues. I'm maintaining that position. The one who's guilty continues that position. And then it says, the one who taught chayva can now teach chus. But you cannot change the chayv. Now, the second day, we're no longer debating. The second day, this is the day of the psak. That's what we say, wait one more day just in case. So really, what is it all about? The second day is reserved to paskin. And yet it says you can't change. So what are you, Rav, saying that you can change when it comes to the psak, to the final conclusion? It says you can't. Well, the following day is Gemar Din. So the mother said back to him, you think that what? One day they have all the debate, the next day they wake up, all they do is paskin. They continue the debate. In that period of between debate, you should maintain the original position if it was chus. But when it comes to the final, sentence, of course you have to say what you really think. If that was your attitude from the beginning, not everybody has to have that. If I thought you were guilty from the beginning, I don't have to think. But if I thought that you were innocent, then I have to maintain that position and try to find bases for that you're innocent. Well, there's no discussion. Kiktoni, when it says over here that you can maintain your same attitude, is b'shas masamat during the debate. Okay, no disproof to Rabbiya. To Rav. Toshma coming here, it says. Danin elu keneged elu. What happens? You're in trouble. Remember, in order to find someone guilty, you have to have a majority of two. In order to find someone innocent when it comes to capital crimes, a majority of one. What happens in the bezin? We hold machlekes the bezin 70-71. Let's say 71. 36 maintain chayiv, and 35 say zakai. We're stuck. The stalemate. It's a majority of one. So what happens is, done in they continue discussion, trying to convince somebody to change. One of the people who found him guilty will turn around and say, okay, he's innocent. So now you have a case of what? You'll have 36 saying innocent and 35 guilty, a majority of one that's good enough. It doesn't give here the other option, or we convince one of the people who says Zakai to become Chayiv, you'll have them 37 against 34. Why don't we have that option? Doesn't it prove that you can't, there's no such option? That once you're from the zakoin, you can't become a chayvin. If you're right, at least in the other way around. Well, that's not proof. Tana aschus kamehedet. The Tana is trying to be positive and saying, guys, try to find those chus. But if you don't, of course you can go chayv. No proof one way or another. Tashma coming here. He said, if one of the Talmidim was Mezak, remember you had the Bezin and you had the students. If one of the students said that this guy is innocent, mace, and he died before he had a chance to explain himself. We view him as if he's still alive, but and he's still as if he's still alive. His position is still there, and it sounds like from Rashi that he's counted as part of the Sanhedrin, and he's counted even though he didn't give us a reason why. We counted now for Zakai. Now, by my why. Let us say, if he would have been alive, even though his position today was that he's Zakai, he could have been convinced to change to Chayiv. You have says that you can change. Hadabay, and for the more, that's not a kasha. Hash to me, the fact is he died before he changed his mind. So what do we have for sure that he believes Zakai? Make Efsher, he would have changed his mind. That's not a position to be in. Says the Gemara. Now Ran brings a yesh mefarshim, fascinating mefarshim. They want to say that the pshat over here is not the way you just said that this person vote is now counted as a single vote. This yesh mefarshim wants to say that this person is a Talmud. He's not part of the Beis Din. But remember, we learned that Talmidim can voice their opinions, and this person, let's say, said Zakai. If he would have been alive, it's possible he would have convinced the entire Beis Din. If he would given us his his basis, could be he would have convinced the entire Beis Din, or the majority at least, to find him innocent. Therefore, we're going to say that this alleged criminal is innocent, as if he's alive, not as an opinion, but that his svar or his svara would have convinced everybody else there. So we cannot kill anymore the person because there's a suffix v'tzilu eda. We let him go, and the Ran finds that very far-flung to say such a thing. It says in the Torah, they said the letter sent that this opinion of Rabbi Yisrael argues with Rav. So we see he Taka argues it on. That's what you want to say that he's the way you want to say is right now this is what his opinion is. But said no, say ain't mighty itmar. They actually said this does not in any way negate Rav's opinion, not because he cannot change his mind, but the word is that we're saying that maybe what we're saying is that since he died right now with that opinion, if he would have been alive, he could have changed his mind. But in fact, this is his opinion he died with. Now, but Pashtus, I told you once that it's very difficult to say. I cannot remember who says it, but we had a kedushin in the beginning. The word "in" or "aleph yud nun" we can either translate as no or yes. And how are we really supposed to know? Well, you have to look at the context. How can one word be two opposite things? So this Mefedish, and I have no recollection who it is, who it was, says that they both mean the same thing. One is sing song, and one is benichus. Yeah, so really is. Ain is no, but if it means yes, it's ain. No, we say in and ain. They say both was one word, ain. Ain, no. The same thing here. Not that one person says, yeah, they said a letter. It's not like that. The other person said a letter. So one of them is wrong. No, they said the same letter, like Rav. But was it a sing song? What? This is not like Rav, or is a statement? This is not like Rav, and that was the wrong place. Toshma coming here. Shnei Sefer the Yanim. The two scribes of the Yanim. They stand in the Neim. Echad Minim is no other happened left. The question is the stenographers. They sit in. They record every single thing that's said. Those and they record what the Dayanim are saying. Why this Dayan says he's guilty. This guy says there's transcripts of everything that happened. I understand why it's important to write down the words of those who say that this person is guilty, everything they said, and the reasons behind it. Because you know why? The din is by we said within the Fashal, if you think the guy is guilty, we have to give it one more day. If you think he's innocent, you pass it on the day. If you think he's guilty, give it another day, sleep on it, maybe you'll come up with a new perspective. What happens if the reason why you think he's guilty today is because of X? And tomorrow you come in and you say he's guilty, but on a whole new reason. Why? Then you need another day to have a fresh perspective on that new thing. So therefore, it's important to write down the reasons in case the next day you come in and say, yeah, I still feel guilty. Are you sure it's for the same reason? Maybe it's a different reason. So we read back to you the reason you gave us yesterday. And then you say, no, I think he's guilty because of that. It's another day. So it's important to write down the reasons and everything was going through your mind. Tomorrow he'll say a new reason. And therefore we have to make another day, extend the court case by another day. The ones who say, yeah, I'm innocent, why do you have to know the reason why he's innocent? Who cares what the reason is innocent? If my timer, why you have to write down the reasons? Love, isn't it? That if tomorrow he comes in and he wants to change the chayiv, we're not going to let him. What do you mean? We learned before that if you zakai, you cannot change the chayiv. You cannot change unless it's something that's dukin amoida. If the basis, whatever I did, was something that's clear in the Torah, that a dukin know that it's wrong, then it's not an opinion. So we need to write down, because since if you learn not like that, since if you're mezaka, you cannot you cannot change the mimachayev. So we need to know the reason why he changed, because he's going to argue, yes, I was mezaka yesterday. Let's say all we write down is you're mezaka yesterday. Comes the next day, he says, change my mind, I think he's guilty. And they're going to say, but it can change your mind. So you can say, yeah, but I think it might be something that it's looking amoida by.
Why is this looking the measuring stick?
So it's not a psak. If it's off in the Torah, then if it's
so clear cut,
then whatever you said is nothing. No, it's much stronger Torah Mishnah. Torah Mishnah might still be a psak. You can change your mind, but till you change your mind, it's a psak. But Torah, if Davish has doing a it's not a psak. It's nothing. Exactly. So we see that not like that, but you cannot change your mind. But if you could change your mind, what I need to know the reason why. You said yesterday I was close to change my mind. I need to know what the reason is why you was reicher. Say, who cares what the reason is? I was reicher. I was mezakir, and now I want to be mechayiv. But if you're only the if you hold that if you're mezakir, you cannot be mechayiv. Then we need to know the reason. So you shouldn't later claim that the reason why I thought yesterday he was innocent was something which is against the Torah, something that's dukah amoida that it can't be. So my answer is an interesting thing. I know. We, you know why you write down the time of the schus? If you have two dayanim who think the guy is innocent, and they both say for the same reason, but they have to bring a basis, and one person brings it from one pasuk, and one person brings it from another pasuk, then you know one of them is making a mistake. The Torah does not repeat the same halacha twice. Each time, but even if it looks like it's twice, it's a new nuance. So therefore, we'll discount one of the opinions, and that is why we need to know the reason behind the zakai, because you cannot have the same din from two different psukim. Two people said one reason for psukim. He said, "A counter as one opinion." Famous difficult Rambam over here. Famous difficult Rambam. The Rambam says, quotes his Gemara, but he has one word: "Afilu shnei mikros." If you come up one din, even from two different psukim, it's counted as one opinion. So the Kesef Mishnah understood Pashto Pshat the Rambam is, but surely if they come from the same pasuk, it's one opinion. If we're saying exactly the same thing, I feel that even though through the psukim, so you can argue it's two different opinions. So it's also possible. So that's the Kesef Mishnah learned, which is a pella, half a pella, as a shachim and others like Mishnah. So what happens? What happened if the guy was a murderer? He killed somebody. The Torah says lo yisitzach. So if every dying gets up and says he's guilty because it says lo yisitzach, it's only one opinion. So you have to have 36 different opinions that you're not allowed to murder or find 30. What does that even mean? And I'm going to say that. So the Shach therefore says it must be a mistake. Must be a mistake in the Rambam. It's the only way of understanding the Rambam. You very seldom have that. That's what in the Gedei Achreinim that's how they learn. But the Kesef Mishnah learns, which is very difficult to understand, that if the two Dayanim come up with the same reason why he's asur from the same pasuk, like sitzach, it's one vote. That means if you have to have a majority of 36 or 37 to find guilty, or 36 for innocent, 36 different reasons why he's innocent. Yeah, maybe that's why we learned before. You have to be able to retire or shed it 150 different ways, because they're going to have to come up with 36 different reasons why this person is innocent. If you take the Rambam literally. Okay, let's go to right. But how do you know that? How do you know you don't find one din from two psukim? Hashem only said one din. We have one pasuk, you learn two din from one pasuk, but you don't have one din that you learn from two psukim. You have a mikra, you have a strength, mikra, in one pasuk you learn a number of din, which we do. But any time you don't find one din, you repeat it in a number of psukim. If it's repeated, we always learn new halachas from it. From here. Ukipatish, you place it like a hammer that breaks or crushes a stone. Ma patish there. Now this is the famous Rashi in Tesis. But Rashi learns ma patish there, just like this hammer. Mischalik lekamanutzutzes, just like this hammer makes the stone break into a number of parts. But it's one stone that breaks a number of parts. So af mikra echad. One pasuk gate to the kamatam, it breaks a number of parts. Is the heichi dami tam echad. What's an example of tam echad mishnei mikrois? What is an example? Okay, in we cannot use one tam if it's a two psukim, but it's not a bezin. Give me an example, b'chlal, where you find one din sort of repeated in the two psukim, and you say you cannot do that. It's not counted as two opinions when it comes to a bezin. Give me an example of that. Anyway. Okay, in Kabbanis. We learn Mizbeach Mekadesh is a Raula. If you put something on the Mizbeach, and at the time you put on the Mizbeach, it was suitable to be brought up in the base of Mikdash, and then it became possible. For example, or right before you brought Mizbeach, but you brought in the base of Mikdash, then you mafagel. You had the wrong, the kohen had the wrong dates in mind. Instead of eating it for 1 day, you for 2 days, so the animal became ruined in the base of Mikdash. If you put it on the Mizbeach, even though it's possible, it stays there. You don't take it off. So Mizbeach, because Mizbeach is Mekadesh Esharola. Mizbeach sanctifies anything which is suitable for the Mizbeach. But Rabbi Shua says, Kolarol Ishim. It's not the word's not the Mizbeach, it's the fire on the Mizbeach. The fire on the Mizbeach. And anything which is suitable to be on the fire Mizbeach, Yimal. What's stuff that you don't bring down? But it says, Ha'oila al Moikah. The oil should bring on the fire. Ma oila shehi ru'el ishim. The oil is suitable for the fire, and it stays there. It's af. Also says af kosher oil ishim. So that's one. No, we lay down a rule. If it's suitable for the mizbeach, you don't take it down. So the first opinion is that it's the issue, it's the fire. Actually, he questioned the pasuk the word maita. Once it's suitable for the fire, you don't tell. And Rabbi Kamil learns the same thing, but from a different word. You learn it says here after the word maita, it says bech. Anything which is suitable for the mizbeach was a kosher carbon. Like you ruined it through pickle, for example. But if it's a kosher carbon, it stays there. Ma oila shehiru ila mizbeach. Im also a ted. I've kosher mizbeach. You don't take it down. So, but what are they both saying? Exactly the same thing, but different words. So here you see an example. You learn the same halacha from two different words. But by when it comes to Sanhedrin, if that's what happens, we'll count them as one opinion. Superficially, ostensibly, they're saying exactly the same thing, just a different pasuk. So, what are you talking about? No, we learned that they're actually arguing. Well, it says the Tony say from the very end of that mission. It says, "Ein bein dividem gemil yevashu ella hadam hadasachim." The blood that was suitable for mizbeach ended on mizbeach, or the nesachim, the libations. Whether you take it down, if you learn from ishim, you don't spray the fire. There's no zrika by ishim. There's no nesachim directly on the fire. So if you put that on mizbeach, you remove it. It doesn't belong there if it's possible. But if you learn from anything which is raw on the mizbeach, well, sprinkled on the walls of the mizbeach, and the sachin goes on the mizbeach. So therefore, you would leave it there. So there is an nafkamin halach. It's not the same identical din. Similar idea, but from a different place. It says. Anything that he touches the man becomes holy, even though it's possible. Whether it's suitable or not suitable. Therefore, the pasuk says, "This is what you should do on the mizbeach." Says sheep, a year old, twice a day. The carbon tummy. Ma kvasim ruin. The kvasim have to be suitable. Is afkol ro? It has to be something suitable. Rabbi Kiva says. Those we're talking about, we would have thought that things which are not suitable. We said, kos over holds the bash, like saktina men Hashem. If you touch him mizbeach, maybe it becomes kaidish. So he says no, only things which are raw to the mizbeach, and we learned that after the word kvasim. And Akiva says, it says in the pasuk, oila. It says afterwards, oila tamid seichem. So therefore, ma oila ruya, oila suitable for mizbeach, afkol ruya. But something which is not raw touches the Mizbeach, it's not become Kaddish. It's a via micro mind. When they both coming to be mind, the same thing. Psul, they become the mind things which are possible, which are totally disqualified, which are not shy to the Mizbeach at all. They're learning the same thing, but things which are not shy to Mizbeach. I just told you oil and then chametz and bash, whatever. So but they both agree on that. The only thing is, where do you learn it from? Here we see an example of two dinim. One din from two psukim. But by Sanhedrin, if that happened, it would be considered one vote. So what are we talking about? They're arguing as well. The machlekes is if the if you make an oila out of a bird and it's possible to touch him his back, whether it didn't be man the maisel mikwasi, the one who learns it from sheep, cattle, mikwasi mean. Only by sheep we have this diuk, this inference that if it's not suitable, it's not kodesh. Aval oilas oif, but oilas oif is not part of the equation. Man the maisel oil, I feel oilas oif not means. Even though oif is not part of it. It's cancelled because it's not the road. It's in his back. So we see there's a machlekes there as well. We learn, you're not allowed to shecht a carbon outside of the base of mikdash called shchutichutz. Nor can you be mila, can you bring on the mizbeach outside the base of mikdash, facing the base of mikdash. You're not chayiv kares. That person gets chayiv kares. So the discussion is going to be what happens. He did both shchita and how long? Is it two averis? No, it's what do you mean two kares? You can't get two kares. What it means is if you did it b'shaygig, every kares you do b'shaygig, you bring karban chatas. So if you shechted and you brought it up in the mizbeach, you bring two karbanos chatos. Behelamachas, you did it in one go, you didn't realize you're not doing it, or you only get one avera because really both of them are two parts of the same avera. So we'll see tomorrow. Depends how you learn. That's the outcome. Rashi Tanya we learn. It says in pasuk, if you did not bring it to the base of mikdash, you shechted it outside. Is dam yechashel that person's considered as if he spilled blood. Dam shafach, and he gets kares. And we say why the emphasis so much on the blood? The rabbis es hazoidik. If somebody sprinkles the blood of kachim outside, you have kares, and you learn out the word dam shafach. An extra dam shafach, he's poured out the blood. Okay, Divi Rabbi Shmuel. Rabbi Kiva says it talks about not the carbon of shchita, but it talks about the carbon of bring it on the mizbech outside of the base of mikdash. It says ashiyala oila oizevach. You bring up an oila oizevach outside the base of mikdash. What do you mean oizevach? You already said oila. What do you mean oizevach? What's that coming to add? Is the rabbis as hazoidik that if you sprinkle the blood, you're chayiv. No. They're both learning that if you sprinkle the blood outside the base of mikdash, you chayiv kares, or b'shay you chayiv chatas, and to them sukim. But Tabaya Mai Kamar Bezrik, they're both agreeing this same thing. Ma Maisel Madam, Yachoshev, Ma Maisel Oi Zevach. With Oi, extra Oi, teach you also sprinkling. Here you have an example of one din from two psukim. Says your mother, no. Again, there's a machlekes. Amar Rabavu Shochat v'zorak ikebenayu. You shechted and you sprinkled the blood. Is that considered by mistake? Two avedas or one aveda. The Divi Rabbi Shmuel, who learns everything after shchita, ein chayv alachas. He learns from the very same pasuk. You do shchita, you also learn the shafach dam. So therefore he says it's one aveda. You want to bring one kamachatas. The Divi Rabbi Kiva, who learns this is the two different dinim. One is shechting, another din is your blood is for the pasuk of bringing up on the zbeach. It's two different avedas. It's chayv shtayim, chayv two. The Gemara, Allah. We learned that Abaye said, even Rabbi Kiva will agree you only chai one carbon, which means that in the outcome there's no difference whether you learn like Rishmol or you learn Rabbi Kiva. It's the same din learned from two different places. Here we found one example, one din learned from two different places. How do we know that? Because there's another pasuk which it brings the two together. It says in the pasuk, where should you bring the base your karbanos into the base of mikdash? Some tal oila secha there, the base you should bring your carbon oila. V'sham tas, and there you should do. Because the Torah puts together the tashish, the shchit and everything else, and tala you should bring on the mizbeach. It's as it became one aveda doing it outside. Avinu Nachman L'Kol see it brought together. Okay, then the Mishnah said another difference. Dini Mamanis is done in B'yayim. Dini Mamanis can be done by day and can be finished by night. But Dini Lefashas can only be done by day. Say to one, how do you know? Amar Abchia says, it says B'chol Ace anytime, which means that the Gemar Din can be at night. No, but there is a time that a judge can be open 24 24 hours a day. So it must be continuation of night. Another continuation. Maybe you can start. Maybe it's as well. Well, it says Kidarava, like Rabba. The Rabba has a question. One pasuk says, another pasuk says, means by day that he inherits his children, bequeaths his children. And that means it didn't tell you about the inheritance. Okay, so Yoim Litchilas din and Laila Ligmar din. Yoim for the beginning din and Laila Ligmar din. The big machlek is actually about exterior in traces whether Kabbalah Sa'edus. Okay, Tchilas din definitely is when the plaintiff and the litigants are standing in front of us, each one states their claim. What about the Adim? If the Adim over here said Tesis clearly Kabbalah Sa'edus is considered Tchilas din. And Tesis by Yaneh HaMelech before learns that Kabbalah's Aedis is definitely Gmardin. So the Achreim try to reconcile the two Tesis. How can it be? Anyway, Masnisi in the Lake Rameir, our Mishnah does not follow Rameir. Rameir holds that even the Gmardin by Momnus has to be by day. And the reason when we spoke about this, how do we know Tchila that din has to be by day? And I told you learn from the Goyim, because the Rambam again is a pel here, and everyone tries to understand the Rambam. The Rambam uses Rameir's pasuk to learn the opinion of the Chachamim, which is from the Goyim. So, look, if you follow the Gemara, the Pashtus, the Gemara doesn't learn the way. Let's see the Gemara. Time we learn by the base and the Kohanim should be every single dispute, and every leprosy. What does disputes have to do with leprosies? Elamakish ribim l'goyim. Compare the two. Man negoyim b'yoyim, just like negoyim by day. The people says uveyoyim. Hey, by day you should show him. So af ribim, we're equating disputes, a court of disputes, to a kohen who's determining whether this is a tzaras. He's af ribim b'yoyim. And then goes back as well. Uman negoyim shalei b'sumin. By negoyim, you can't have someone who's blind to see. L'kol mada eine hakoyin, has to be able to see with both eyes. Is af ribim, total disputes shalei b'sumin. You cannot have blind people seeing, adjudicating the case. Umakish negoyim l'ribim, ma'ribim shalei b'krayim, just like ribim. You cannot have relatives sitting on the court case. Af negoyim shalei b'krayim. So too. By Negoyim, you cannot have a kohen, a cousin, making a determination. If so, like maybe you have three kohenim. Just like this, by dispute, you have three dayanim. But you know, it makes sense. Possessions. Things about you. Like teach you. It says a singular. Even one kohen royes and a goyim can see the Negoyim. Husam is a blind person. Rabbi Yechon is a blind person in the vicinity of Rabbi Yechon, and have it doing. He used to pass him. He was on the courts. Well, Rabbi Yechon said nothing. Hey, I would have to do that. But Rabbi Yechon said, "Allah is Tam Mishnah. Allah is like a Tam Mishnah." And what does a Tam Mishnah teach you? But now we learn Kol HaKosher. Let's say he's one of three, but he was one of the Dayanim. Or others say Yachim Mumcha, but it could be a Dan Yachim Mumcha. Kosher Lord and Kosher Lord, anybody who's qualified to be a judge is qualified to be an aid. But the Yeshe Kosher Lord, there's certain people that are kosher qualified to be an aid, but in Kosher Lord cannot judge. And what is that? So before we had, it could be, we're talking about, like Yichus. A mamzer or gay, they can be aidim, but they cannot judge in certain cases. It's coming to tell you someone is blind on one eye. Someone's blind on one eye could be an aid, but cannot be a judge. Says the Gemara. And how do you know he cannot be a judge? Because just like by Negoyim, we say that the Kohen has to be able to see, so too the judges have to be able to see. And if you're blind, you cannot see. So it's a question. So how can Rabbi Yechon allow? Rabbi Yechon he found another stam. Yeah, you're right. Rabbi Yechon passed stam Mishnah. He should have disqualified this judge who was blind on one eye, but he left him stay there because he found another stam Mishnah. And what's that? So the stam Mishnah over here, who says blind on one eye is no good, obviously follows a Meir. So, but Rabbi Yechon found another stam which follows Chachamim. And what's that? After you found in the moment is done in B'yayim, the Goyim B'layla, you're allowed to finish it by night. Now, finishing it by night is worse than being blind on one eye. Blind on one eye, you can still see with the other eye. At night, you can't see anything. So the fact that we allow you to finish the din at night tells us that we don't care if you're blind. But Meir holds you cannot paskin at night, even Gemar din, because you can be blind. They hold that you another time Mishnah Paskins that your tchilas din should be by day and gemar din by night, which means then surely blind on one eye you can see better than at night, and therefore he can be a judge.
By day. They would have started by day. So
But still continuing the din at night shows that we don't care. Came blind in the middle of the case. I mean,
needed to be seen or seen. Now it's just the side.
if Kabbalah's aegis is according to Tesis is gemar din for sure. So you want my with the high summer. So why you decide to follow the second time that blind is all right? Ibai say Mr. that Rabbim Odif. Yeah, either because now he's following Chachamim, which is better. Or Ibai say, but Mr. And this second is written in the Sanhedrin, and this is where it belongs. This is where it belongs. So the Gemara continues, but Ameir, High Bishop on B'Cholei, my daughters, what does he do? The pasuk B'Cholei. The man holds not only the beginning, the chilus them, but the Gemara has to be by day. What does he do B'Cholei? B'Cholei means that even only by day, but even if it's not so clear, it's still all right. Now we learned ain't range in the going. You're not allowed to see the going shachris too early in the morning. Because then things which are like seem brighter. Ubeino abayim or in the afternoon. Things which are color. Color is very important. And the shade of the white is very important. But in these times of the day, the shade is a lot brighter than it should be. Not inside the house because you don't really see properly. On a cloudy day, when they should call need a zazik in those times, something which is light seems to be stronger. But today, not mamish noontime when the sun is so bright that even things are bright. Adult. The shraga batira. Need a kaya because then even strong cut white will be faint. So therefore, that's what I'm going to teach you. That about cloud that you can see. But a mayor hybrid, so okay, good. A mayor hybrid Michilas Bonov. What do I do? The positive Biyam Michilas Bonov. Ahu me boy le he need to look at the Tony Rabba about Chanina Kamei Zanach. What do you do with Michilas Bonov? Will be learned about Basa and Yeshnechli. What Rabba Bachani said come for a Nach, but Hoya Michilas Bonov, Biyam Atamab Nachlo is a map that inherit bequeath your estate by day, not by night. Amalei Miata Manda Shochi Mamas, my guy happens to die by day, Yartenbil. His children will Yartenbil, his children Yashnim. Manda Shochi Belailam, somebody dies at night, Lo Yarten Lebene, his children won't Yashnim, what I mean. So he says, what I meant was Din Nachlus Kamra. Maybe he meant Din Nachlus. Not that he gives over, but if there's a din, remember we learned before the concept that people who see something, they can either be a bezin or they can be edim. But if they have no choice, they cannot be considered a bezin because let's say they're sword at night. So then they're only edim, ain't aid nasadain. The following day they have to go for another bezin to be able to witness. We also had in third pregnant Rosh Hashanah there. If they were all standing ahead and they saw the new moon. And we had a big machlekes of training. What's the class of aid? Aid is only when you had a mind to say aid. So even if you didn't have a mind, the very fact that you saw it already makes you an aid named nasadain. Or that the Ram said that you have kivnu lahayid. Time to learn. How you know saw the chooks in Mishpat? Ayra kol particle is the entire parsha talking about din kirav yudam rav dam yudam rav. Shloisha shenichnu so v'akachay. 3 people go to visit a sick person. Rotzu kaisen. The one that can just be as witnesses, just write down what they saw, what they heard. Rotzu, they want Oisidin, act like a bezin. And Paskin, yes, the money belongs to this guy, but it's all Paskin's done with. Shnayim, but if you're only 2 people, then all you are is witnesses, Kaishin, they ain't Oisidin. When do we say that the 3 people have a choice? It happens to see it by day. If they were there at night, they can't be a bezin. Then they have no breda. They're Adim Kaishin, they ain't Oisidin. Because they're not Adim, they ain't Aid Nasadain. Amalei said to me, right? In Hochi what I meant. So that's what that mayor used the passing behind the Yom Michilas bottom, not to tell you that it starts with the you said the Rabbanan said the Yom Michilas bottom means you start it in by day, and B'Shafta Am B'Chola Eis means that you can finish it at night. He says no. B'Shafta Am B'Chola Eis and Yom Michilas means only by day. And Shafta Am B'Chola Eis means that even by day, if it's cloudy, it's not perfect, you can go ahead and make even though by the Goyim it's no good, but by a din it's come to override the hekesh by then you can have. And wasn't he a possible then behind the Yom B'Chaleis, the Hayim Michilas Bano teach you this other than Ein Eid Nasadai. Beautiful Michilas on all of this.